Have you ever felt your heart tighten, your head burn, and your peace vanish in seconds because of a careless word, a dismissive glance, or a thoughtless act? It is not because you are weak, but because you handed someone else the key to your emotions. And when that happens often enough, you realize you are no longer in command of yourself, but a puppet pulled by trivial things. The ancients reminded us that no one can truly harm us unless we grant them that power. Anger does not arise from the present moment, but from our lack of awareness and control within. If you want to live free, unchained from the foolish words or actions of others, you must learn to return inward and see that choice has always been in your hands. This is not a battle with the world outside, but a struggle within your own mind. And today, we begin the journey of reclaiming that peace. 1. Recognize the cycle before it consumes you. Anger never arrives as suddenly as we think. It is not a lightning strike from a clear sky, but a storm slowly fed by small clouds, gathering until it cannot be contained. What you explode over today rarely comes from that single moment. It is the result of countless minor clashes, things you dismissed, ignored, or failed to address, until at last, one drop spills the cup. Seeing this cycle is the first step to breaking free. Because if you fail to notice it, you will keep believing you are reacting reasonably to the present, when in truth, you are simply repeating an old pattern. Think back to a recent moment when you lost control. Perhaps you shouted at your child for spilling water on the floor, or snapped at a colleague over a hastily written email that lacked courtesy. If you reflect, the true cause was not the small event itself. Perhaps you had been sleep-deprived for days, buried under heavy responsibilities, or carrying the weight of an unresolved argument. These things built up into invisible pressure. Then, when the last event occurred, you thought it was the cause, but it was only the spark for a powder keg long in place. Without recognizing the full cycle, you fight the wrong enemy, unloading anger on something harmless, only to be left with regret and helplessness. Anger runs like a closed loop: irritation, silence, repression, explosion, regret. You feel provoked. Yet instead of addressing it, you stay quiet, telling yourself it is nothing. You repeat this again and again. Each time, pressure accumulates without your awareness. Then one day, a trivial detail makes you erupt. Afterwards comes regret, self-reproach for overreacting. But since you do not see the whole cycle, you repeat it. This is the loop that traps you, like someone lost in a maze without realizing they walk the same path over and over. The Stoics held self-observation as the foundation of freedom. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Watch the movements of your own mind, so that you are not carried away by them." This is a warning to us. Unless you pause to look within, you will live like one swept downstream. To see that your outburst is not born in the present moment but from a chain of prior events is the beginning of mastery. It shows you are not the victim of circumstance but caught in a habitual reaction, and habits can be changed. Escaping this loop is not difficult, but it demands patience and honesty. Begin by observing yourself in small daily moments. When you feel irritation, do not dismiss it. Acknowledge it, even write it down. You may notice you lose patience in the morning rush, or often feel irritable in the late afternoon when your energy is low. You may see that a certain tone of voice from a colleague, or being interrupted mid-sentence, always unsettles you. These are not random, they are the map of your cycle. One who ignores the map will always believe anger comes out of nowhere. But one who sees it can prepare, set traps, and break the cycle before it swallows them whole. Picture your mind as a great dam. Each time you ignore a small irritation without addressing it, a crack forms in its wall. You notice nothing because the water still holds. But over time, pressure grows. One day, even a falling leaf is enough to make the dam burst. You believe the leaf caused it, when in truth, it was only the final drop. Recognizing the cycle changes your view. You stop blaming the small detail and instead learn to spot the cracks early, reinforcing them before disaster strikes. 2. Understand what truly makes you angry. Many believe they are angry at a single event, but in truth, the event is only a pretext for a deeper undercurrent. You are not angry because someone failed to reply to a message. You are angry because you feel dismissed. You do not explode because a loved one forgot a small reminder. You erupt because you have been carrying exhaustion and the sense that no one notices your efforts. The surface is small, but the roots are deep. Seneca warned, "Anger always finds false reasons to hide true pain." This means most of your reactions are not aimed at the present, but at wounds you have not faced. Imagine leaving home one morning and finding your car lightly scratched. You feel a surge of rage, as if the world itself is against you. But if you look honestly, the anger is not only about the car. It is because last night you stayed up late with unfinished work, because you feel overburdened and unseen. The scratch is only the spark. The fuel has been stored long inside you. If you only blame the car, you miss the chance to see that the true issue is fatigue and a buried sense of injustice. The Stoics taught that emotions are not enemies, but if left unchecked, they deceive us. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Ask at once, does this reflect the true nature of the thing or merely my own unease?" Practicing this question reveals that anger often does not arise from others' actions, but from your own expectations, fears, or shame. Anger is a signal, but if you misread it, you strike at the wrong target, harming others while widening the distance within yourself. The practice here is to pause and trace it back. When you feel anger rising instead of reacting, ask, what am I truly angry about? Is it the careless remark, or the fact that you have long felt unappreciated? Is it the glance, or your fear of not being enough? Is it the delay, or your dread of losing control? By daring to dig deeper, you not only soften anger, but also open the door to greater self-understanding. Remember, anger is not strength, but the mask of hurt. The loudest voice in the room often hides the most insecurity. The one pounding the steering wheel in traffic is often powerless in other parts of life. And the person who erupts over small things often carries wounds still unhealed. If you fail to see this, you keep feeding the cycle. But if you pause and name it, you realize there is no shame in being tired, afraid, or hurt. The only shame lies in turning those feelings into weapons against others. As Epictetus said, it is not events themselves that disturb us, but the judgments we make about them. If you judge wrongly, you grow angry for the wrong reasons, and anger weakens you. But if you judge rightly, you see that anger is only whispering that something within needs care. Then anger becomes a guide, not a prison. And once you understand what truly fuels it, you are no longer ruled by it. You begin to rule yourself. 3. Stop believing everything is about you. One of the most common mistakes that makes people quick to anger is the belief that every word, every unfriendly action, every glance or gesture is aimed directly at them. This illusion is dangerous, for it turns you into someone always on guard, ready to react and easily wounded. In truth, most of what others do has nothing to do with you. The driver who cuts you off is rushing to an appointment, not trying to humiliate you. The colleague who responds curtly may be carrying their own burdens. Even family members who fall silent do so not because they despise you, but because they are wrestling with their own emotions. But when you believe everything is directed at you, you overreact, and in the end, you harm yourself. The trap of personalizing everything is that it casts you as a victim in every situation. You walk into the office and someone does not greet you. You assume they look down on you. You share an idea and someone disagrees, you believe they are against you. You hear a joke and feel personally insulted. This way of thinking is like walking through life with an open wound, where the slightest touch brings pain. Living like this, peace will always escape you, for the world is full of unintended collisions. The Stoics understood this well. They believed most of what others say or do is only a reflection of their own inner state, not a true judgment of you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When someone does wrong, remember they act thinking it is right. Why blame them for that?" He was not asking us to excuse everything, but to recognize that people act largely from the limits of their own perception. Once you grasp this, you stop attaching personal meaning to every detail, and instead you simply observe with calm. Consider the reverse. You too have often acted clumsily without intending harm. You have been indifferent because you were tired, spoken harshly under pressure, ignored someone because your mind was elsewhere. If you have done these things without malice, then perhaps others have as well. Seen from this angle, you realize the world does not revolve around you, and no one spends their day plotting to diminish you. Most are too consumed by their own fears and anxieties. The practice here is to ask questions before reacting. When someone says something unpleasant, pause and ask, "Is this truly directed at me, or are they revealing their own state of mind?" When a stranger behaves rudely, consider, are they perhaps enduring a terrible day? As you form the habit of asking, you will see that most things have nothing to do with you. And once you see that, you no longer need to carry the weight of others within yourself. Stoicism calls this state apatheia, not indifference, but serenity toward what lies beyond your control. You do not become cold, but strong enough not to be shaken by every glance or fleeting word. The image is that of a rock in a river. The waters rush, the waves crash, yet the rock stands unmoved. Such is the one who knows peace depends not on others, but on self-mastery. And remember, every time you resist making a situation personal, you not only escape useless anger, but also strengthen the armor around your inner calm. This is not avoidance, but a mature choice. To let small waves pass without capsizing, to stand steady amid chance collisions, and to live guided by yourself, not by the illusion that the world conspires against you. 4. The 5-day test. One reason we so often lose control is because the mind exaggerates small matters into great problems. You receive no reply to a message and immediately think you are being dismissed. You are cut off on the road and instantly believe it a deliberate insult. A passing comment suddenly feels like a grave offense. In truth, this is the trick of a mind under strain. For when you are tired or pressured, your nervous system scans for threats even where none exist. And so you turn minor moments into needless battles, letting exaggeration rob you of peace. To break this habit, the Stoics taught the art of expanding perspective, seeing things in a larger frame instead of being trapped in the moment. A modern practice is simple. Ask, will this matter in 5 days? This small test has the power to change your response. If the answer is no, why let it invade your mind? Why spend precious energy on what will leave no trace a few days from now? Think back to the times you lost your temper. How many still mattered 5 days later? That heated argument over who washed the dishes last night, does it mean anything now? That text answered 2 hours late, does it still cost you sleep? In truth, most of what once felt enormous vanished quickly. They left no lasting impact, but the damage of your anger did. You may have hurt a relationship, ruined an evening, or planted regret within yourself. Seen in this light, anger is never worth the price. The 5-day test not only conserves emotional energy, but also trains you to sort what matters. A mature person is not one who reacts to everything, but one who chooses what deserves their emotional investment and what to let go. Marcus Aurelius observed, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The 5-day question pulls you out of imagination and anchors you in reality, where most issues are dust on the long road of life. The key is to make it a habit. Each time your heart races, your voice rises, or your finger hovers over an angry message, pause and ask, 5 days from now, will I still care? If not, breathe and let it go. You will be surprised how often the answer is no. And if the answer is yes, at least you have created the pause to face it with reason instead of impulse. This test teaches a vital skill: to safeguard your peace. Just as you would not throw money at every vendor on the street, you should not throw away calm for every petty clash. Emotional energy is a form of wealth. Use it wisely. By practicing the 5-day test, you learn to spend it only on what truly matters, on what leaves a lasting mark on your life, and let the rest drift away. Anger does not vanish, it only changes shape. If you squander emotion on the unworthy, you will be drained when real trials demand strength. But if you rise above the small with the 5-day test, you will preserve clarity and power for the battles that matter. This is how a mature, self-possessed person walks through life, not avoiding conflict, but choosing only the battles worthy of them. 5. Create a pause before reacting. There is a truth most of us know. Anger often comes like a reflex, so fast that you hardly realize you've lost control. A rude comment, a careless act, or a small mishap at work can turn a calm person into an explosive one. You believe you have chosen anger, but in reality, you did not choose at all. You were simply led by instinct, like a machine triggered to detonate. The problem is not in feeling anger, for everyone feels emotions, but in failing to place a pause between stimulus and response. Without that pause, you remain a slave to the collisions around you. The Stoic philosophers understood this well. Epictetus said, "It is not events that disturb you, but your judgment about them." His point was that events themselves are neutral fragments, but your hasty reaction turns them into a fuse. The pause is the space that allows you to step back from that fragment, to see its nature clearly, instead of being pulled into the storm of emotion. And the pause need not be long, just a few seconds of silence, a few deep breaths enough to shift you from instinct to conscious choice. Imagine yourself as a guard at the gate of a fortress. Every word and action from the outside is like a visitor knocking. If you fling the gate open to all, enemies will rush in. But if you insert a pause, you have time to ask, does this guest deserve entry? Anger is the same. When you instantly strike back, you have thrown the gate wide open for the enemy to occupy you. But if you create a pause, you remain in control. You are still the guard, and no one can steal your peace. In practice, the pause can be trained with simple actions. When you feel your blood rising, count slowly from 1 to 3. When someone speaks harshly, take a deep breath instead of replying at once. When you receive a message that angers you, put the phone down for a few minutes before answering. These small acts are the pauses you are building. Do not mistake them for weakness, for it takes more strength to stay silent for 1 second than to explode immediately. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "The strength of a man lies not in responding at once, but in holding firm when shaken." He understood that quick reactions are not always signs of power, but often of poor discipline. True strength is the ability to watch the flame rise within you, yet not throw it onto another. In that pause lies the chance to choose an action that builds, not destroys. Once you begin practicing the pause, you will notice a profound change. You no longer let others so easily steer your emotions. You no longer lose your composure over empty words. Instead, you grow calmer, clearer, more deliberate. Each time you create a pause, you strengthen your inner command. It is an invisible discipline, but immensely powerful, turning you from one who is led into one who leads himself. The pause is not meaningless silence, but the ground of freedom. In that brief space, you are no longer bound by emotion, you are free to choose. And every choice from that pause shapes the person you become. This is why those who can hold back for 1 second often avoid mistakes that last a lifetime. It is not that they do not know anger, but that they know anger is never worth trading away their peace or their character. 6. Set clear boundaries. Many think the reason they are often angry is because the world is chaotic, because people are careless, or because circumstances are always pressing. But look closer, and you will see another truth. You are not angry because others are too much, but because you never set clear boundaries in your life. When you allow people unrestricted access to your emotions, your time, and your energy, without rules or limits, it is only a matter of time before they touch sensitive points and you explode. Picture yourself as the owner of a house who never locks the door, never posts warnings, never sets limits on who may enter. In that case, you cannot blame others for disturbing or messing the place, for it was you who left it open. Your life is the same. If you always say yes to every request while exhausted, if you accept crude jokes just to keep the peace, if you allow others to intrude on your private time because you fear refusing, then the anger you feel afterward is not entirely their fault. It is the result of your refusal to say no, your failure to draw the line for yourself. The Stoics never sought to bend the world to their will. They knew this was impossible, but they excelled in one thing, defining clearly what was theirs to govern and what was not. Epictetus taught, if you want freedom, learn to distinguish what belongs to you and what does not. Setting boundaries is the daily act of drawing that distinction. When you tell a colleague you will not take work beyond office hours, that is not selfish. It is self-respect. When you tell a friend that constant jabs are no longer acceptable, that is not rigidity, it is dignity. Boundaries are not walls to isolate you from others, but armor to shield you from needless harm. They protect the peace of your mind, sparing you from the build-up and eruption of resentment. In fact, those without boundaries are often the angriest, for they constantly allow what violates their wishes and then erupt over small sparks. By contrast, those with firm boundaries seldom need to get angry, for they have guarded themselves from intrusion in the first place. Boundaries also teach others how to treat you. If you stay silent in the face of disrespect, you send the message that it may continue. If you laugh off an offensive joke, you permit yourself to be tested again. But when you speak calmly yet firmly, you show where the line stands. Once that line is clear, violations fade not because you erupt in anger, but because you made it known from the beginning. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A tranquil mind comes from living in accord with your principles." Boundaries are those principles. They are the vow to yourself that you will not trade peace to please others, nor sacrifice dignity to avoid conflict. When boundaries are clear, you no longer need anger as a late protest. Instead, you live with clarity, knowing what is yours, and steadfast in protecting it. 7. Learn to smile at foolishness. There is a simple yet powerful way to disarm anger. Smile. It may sound naive, even weak, but the truth is the opposite. When you can smile at foolishness, you prove it holds no power over you. A thoughtless remark, a clumsy act, or a tactless attitude only carries weight if you grant it. But when you respond with a calm smile, you rise above the moment. You are no longer a victim, but an observer. We often forget that not every foolish thing is worth fighting. Many times you grow angry over a driver honking endlessly, a colleague repeating a pointless story, or a customer speaking pure nonsense. You flare up, react harshly, and later realize you wasted energy on something worthless. Yet if you had smiled, you would have felt the weight lift, not because you agreed with the absurdity, but because you refused to let it enter and shatter your peace. Think back to moments of anger. How many were truly worth your energy? Was an offhand comment from someone unimportant worth losing an evening over? Was a stranger's careless move on the road worth sacrificing your mood and focus for an entire day? The answer is surely no. So instead of reacting with rage, why not choose a smile as if to say to yourself, I won't fall into this trap. The Stoics never wasted effort trying to change what lies beyond control. They knew that some things in life are irrational, and the only victory is not to play the game. Seneca wrote, "The wise man does not argue with a fool, for both will be seen as fools." A smile in such moments is a refusal to join in, a declaration that you need not prove yourself right in a meaningless exchange. It is a sign of inner strength, not weakness. In fact, some of the most demanding professions use humor to stay clear-headed. Firefighters in crisis sometimes share a smile to steady their team. Doctors in emergency rooms may crack a small joke to break tension. They do not smile because things are light, but because they know that if they lose composure, they lose control. For you too, a smile at foolishness is the way to remain clear, to keep your mind from being dragged into what does not matter. The key is to distinguish between positive humor and sharp sarcasm. To smile for release is freedom. To mock is just anger in disguise. When you smile out of understanding, you prove your maturity. You see the absurdity, but refuse to let it possess you. That smile is not for others, but for yourself, a shield that guards your inner calm. Remember, the world will never run out of foolish acts. If you choose anger every time they appear, you will spend a lifetime out of control. But if you learn to smile, they will lose their hold on you. You cannot change others, but you can change how you see them. And when you choose to smile, you affirm that your peace lies not in anyone else's hands, but in your own choice. 8. Respond as the person you want to become. Every time you respond to a difficult situation, you are not only facing another person, you are shaping or destroying the very self you are trying to build. Anger does not end in a moment. It lays another brick in the foundation of your character. If you keep erupting over small things, you are training yourself in weakness, making yourself easy to sway. But if you learn to answer with calm, you are building strength, step by step becoming a steadier, more mature version of yourself. Picture two selves within you. One is the old self, hot-tempered, reactive, eager to prove itself through louder words or harsher actions. It may feel satisfied for an instant, but soon comes regret, wounded relationships, and a sense of failure. The other is the self you strive toward, calm, clear, choosing battles that matter, unwilling to be dragged into trivial games. Each time you face insult or absurdity, you have a choice. Will you empower the old self or nourish the new one? Stoic philosophy sees every reaction as a chance to train the soul. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "The life of each of us is shaped by the actions we repeat. Today's choice is tomorrow's character." This means you need not wait for grand events to prove your strength. It is already tested in daily encounters. A calm reply instead of irritation, silence instead of meaningless debate, a quiet nod instead of an outburst, each is a small yet solid step in becoming your better self. Practicing this in daily life requires patience and discipline. When someone irritates you, ask, "How would the person I want to be respond here?" If you aspire to be a steady leader, would you yell at an employee for a minor mistake? If you want to be a respected parent, would you dump your frustrations on your child for being slow? If you want to be a reliable partner, would you throw cruel words when you feel neglected? The answer is always clear. And each time you act accordingly, you not only save the moment, but move closer to the self you seek. It is important not to confuse calmness with passivity. The Stoics did not teach silence in the face of injustice, nor blindness to wrong. They taught responding with reason, not explosion. A firm refusal, a clear boundary, a steady but composed stance carries far greater power than anger. True strength is not in the volume of your voice, but in the steadiness of your soul. Each day, life hands you the chance to decide who you will become. When you stay silent before foolishness, when you smile instead of snapping, when you hold calm instead of striking back, you are writing the story of who you wish to be. Slowly, these small choices fuse into your very nature. Others may forget what you said or did in those moments, but you will never forget who you became because of them. For me, the journey of learning to control anger has never been some distant theory, but a lived experience repeated in daily life. I once believed that outbursts were strength, that if I reacted quickly and forcefully, others would not dare to dismiss me. But the more I acted that way, the more I realized I was only letting emotions lead and damaging what was truly valuable. At times, a single careless remark was enough for me to strain a relationship, and what remained afterward was only regret. Since practicing Stoic principles, I have learned that calm is not weakness, but true strength. Each time I choose silence, a smile, or a question to myself, I feel freer, no longer steered by others. I have come to see that peace does not come from a changing world, but from mastering myself, and that is the path I intend to walk with persistence. If what you heard today has been of value to you, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss what comes next. This is not merely a video, but a reminder that peace has always rested in your hands. And sometimes, the greatest strength of a human being is not in changing the world outside, but in holding steady a tranquil soul within. See you in the next video.